Welcome to the Founders Lab. In this series, I want to get really deep with other founders and we want to talk specifics about business. One of the challenges I have when we're interviewing someone is we stay at the shallow level. But truly to be able to help and create value, I need to go deep on specific topics. So I'm getting the best of the best founders and we're going to get and share insights that are going to be able to help you in your business. Welcome back to the Founders Lab. I have Dan Anisse from Reloom and Jacques Reif, the co-host. Let's go, boys. All right, today we're going to talk deeply on a conversation around community-led products. And I think probably the first question I want to throw out to Dan is, what is a community-led product for those listening going, what are you talking about, Frank?
Yeah, sure. Community-led product is essentially a tool that you're building around a community, community's feedback, community's input. So yeah, effectively you're just kind of involving them in the process.
Sick. Jacques, anything to add?
I mean, the biggest thing for me there is like embedding yourself in a community, getting that feedback loop. That's where the discovery process happens. It's part of almost the product like roadmap is getting that community involved. The one thing though that we're sort of worried about there is bringing people along the journey that might not have the right insights for your business. They might actually steer you astray. So what are the kind of pitfalls that we need to worry about, I guess?
Before we get to pitfalls, should we start with what's the benefit?
Okay, what's the benefit?
A lot.
Yeah, let's dive into benefits first, and then we'll get to pitfalls, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, from our business, so we've got over 12,000 members in our Slack channel. So it's been probably, to be honest, the best thing we ever did. So we started off on day one when we launched Reloom Slack community, parallel to that. So for us so far, the benefits have just been really getting them involved early on from a product perspective. So multiple things. So getting feedback. So you get the natural feedback that comes through just from all the different channels that the users are commenting on. You get direct access for user testing. So we can literally put something out today, right now, and by the end of the day, we're going to get 20, 30 people interested in doing some user testing. So you get some direct access to users to get better feedback on your product. But it's also just better communication. Like we've got email that gets lost. You get other ways of, in socials gets lost to your followers. So a Slack channel gets direct to the audience. There's no filters, there's no ads, there's nothing. It's like, it's direct. So it's, for us, it's just been multiple benefits. And also the last one is accessibility. Like me, I can be DM'd, co-founders, anyone in the team can be DM'd by the users in the community asking me any questions. So it's been, I think, overall very positive.
That's cool. Can I quickly add something? So what I think is interesting for everybody listening, right, is we're talking specifically about tech and product. But when I think about community, like, in essence, it's just a fun, fancy word to be like, there's lots of punters out there who are directly engaged in what you're doing, and you're fostering an environment where they can one-on-one talk with each other. They can see news and insights about the business or product, and they can kind of get inside it and be raving fans. Like we've seen some really interesting examples of the Shark completely out of the tech and products world, which is something like BoxyCharm. I interviewed BoxyCharm founder and CEO, and he had Facebook group communities where they talk specifically about the product. Each month, what's going to be in the BoxyCharm subscription box this month, which was makeup. And they got all excited. And what he realized is he could like talk specifically to them and find out what's going to be interesting. And by finding out what's interesting from your customer, you can then actually go, I'm going to add that into my product, right? Yeah. It's a people that, if people are willing to join a air quotes community, they're much more likely to be raving fans of your product. And so therefore their feedback matters a lot more than that random 1-star review with some negative person that was never going to be a customer anyway. It's getting really, really close. And I think from the outside in, I imagine the lifetime value of those customers far more significant, because those people are like, they've been along the journey every step of the way. And if you can get that feedback and then actually make actions and changes to their feedback in a live environment, they're going to feel so much more attached to that particular product.
Yeah,
for sure.
How do you get them into that community then? That's sort of the first thing for people listening, and they want a community-led product. How do you start?
Yeah, you need a carrot, right? So for us, it was leveraging support. So if you had any issues about Reloom, you could join Slack and we will answer any questions about the product. So that got them in the first place. Cool. But then obviously once they're in, you've got that opportunity to expand channels in your Slack group. So you're able to add in announcements, team up, and you can expand it there. But yeah, that was the way of getting people in. And you got to think of like, it could be support, it could be anything, but you got to think of the carrot. Like, what's the reason why I'm going to actively join something and be part of a community and contribute as well?
Is there a risk there when you have someone part of a support and now they make a support request and then everybody sees it? There's like too much noise or potential, someone might be hearing it like, oh, I don't want other people to hear my customer is sad and I don't want them to share those insights. I'd rather go into email. Like, is there a risk?
Not for us. It's transparent.
It's a loser thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. It didn't end up happening. We found our first product support person because Matt, was responding to everyone from a community, like as just a user. So what ends up happening, it's beautiful, right? Where someone says, issue with this, cool. Now, someone in the community just contributes and says, oh, I've worked this out, I can figure this out. You do this. So people from the community all help each other. It's this incredible dynamic of, issue about the button pops up for everyone to see, but then other people jump in and actually help each other. And from that, we're able to find our awesome head of product support, Matt, who is now on the Reloom team and making that happen.
Wow. So like really the searchability, if someone comes across something that's already been answered, they can just jump in and see the same answer and you kind of don't even need to worry about it. You're just getting them enforcing the product, talking about the product. I've had this problem. I've solved it this way. Here it is. Yeah. That's amazing. That's magic.
It is. It's so cool to see it grow and they help each other.
Question. So for someone listening, right, and we're going, what are some of the tools you can use? You guys are using Slack, direct communication. Firstly, why would you make that decision and what else is out there?
Yeah, for sure. I think for us, we use Slack because that's where we believe designers always lived in their other platforms. So they would have a Slack for their internal team, Slack for something else. So we wanted to be where they existed. So Slack was a choice. Now, obviously, Slack is not optimized for community. That's, I guess, one of the downsides. But for us, we had other options of, at the time, Discord, Slack, and there was also this other one called Circle. So Circle is effectively your own Facebook group, or like it's your own community on your own URL. But it just, again, my hunch is that I'd rather be where they already are instead of like making them go to another place.
Yeah, so you don't want to create friction, right? No, they've already got Slack installed. You just want to be where they are. Like for an example for us is we want to talk on WhatsApp because obviously everyone has a WhatsApp. So we'll just set up a WhatsApp group and that's where we'll communicate with people in our community. So it makes sense. Just go where they are. Yeah. Make it as frictionless as possible. Make it easy, familiar, and that's where you start. Yeah,
and that's where you're going to increase the odds of your adoption. So it could change, like you said, could be WhatsApp, could be Slack. Wherever your community is already at, leverage that as much as you can because it significantly increases the chances of people not only going there, but staying there.
Jack, I want to riff on a topic with you, which is, I'm not excluding you, Dan. So all right, no Dan's allowed in this next one. An interesting insight, right, is so you got one concept, which is, I build a product, I want to build a community around it. We've talked about some of those benefits. But the other option is if someone's like, I don't know what product or business I want to build. And you start community first. Like, talk to me about that space and how you can actually identify underserviced communities and niches that you could build product from.
Yeah, so this is like where we're looking at right now. It's find your audience first, get them talking, get them together, collect them as much as possible and have as many touch points as possible that you can have. And actually what will happen is the problems will start to surface and those solutions are what you can build for them. So like it's kind of the opposite thinking and don't even worry about your product, worry about the audience, worry about the community first, build that, have that sort of touch point as much as possible. And from that, you will see opportunities.
Get specific. So do you have some examples of things that we've gone past in the past or places that people can look? Because I think what I love about the Founders Lab is like getting granular for people so they can really get the context of like how to implement it.
Well, I mean, the easiest one that comes to mind is like a Facebook group, right? Like we're all in Facebook groups, we're on Reddit, we're on all these places. Join that community or set up your own one, set up your own Facebook group and get that going from day one. You might be like, okay, my audience is 4x4 enthusiasts, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to jump on Facebook and I'm going to chat to everyone in the 4x4 space, right? I'm going to become an authority in that space. I'm a moderator, I'm whatever, but I'm going to be kind of like embedded in that community first. And from that, now you've got people that you're talking to, they can see you're a real person. From that, okay, now there's like something I can build here. You know, I can take that community somewhere else if I need to, but really I'm just there day in, day out, kind of showing my face.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to build authority? That's a really interesting point too. Is like, yes, you can find problems and then therefore create solutions for. But if you're just there and you're there for a long time, the reality is it's not. You have 12,000 in your Slack community. I'm always sure there's going to be like 1,000 that are super active, and the rest. And if you're one of those people that's super active, your little name gets popped up and over again. Yeah. And even as a way to, if you build that trust over time, then when you go in for the particular ask, the ask is no longer a cold call. It's much more of a warm approach. Yeah. So I'll get specific with our version of this right now, Jacques, giving everybody in a little bit of insight. Right? People have been asking, what's our next venture? And our next venture, we know the archetype and who we're talking to, which is founders. And so we've been doing the founders table every single week where we have groups of essentially randoms from Instagram coming here. Dan was here last week, not a random, but in different categories, whether it be early stage, 3 to 5 mil, 10 mil plus, and we're just doing WhatsApp groups, post that, and just like finding out what are the challenges, what are the things, and you can find out through conversations like aha moments, things that get people like, oh, that's interesting, or like our questions, like wave a magic wand, what's the biggest challenges you have, and they're solved, and you start to notice, if the group and the sample size is big enough, you start to notice things that are common occurrences. And you go, okay, if people are commonly having this challenge, how are they solving for it? That isn't the right solution today.
Yeah, right. And that's the carrot, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's how you hook people in and get them. Well, not say hooked like we're trying to get everything, but it's like...
we're trying to get them in, Dan. Come on, no. We're a couple of capitalist pigs here, brother. Come on, we're hooking you in, but we're providing value.
It's a good trade-off, right? At the end of the day, you're doing what we're doing on that side, but you're actually getting value. And I think that's where a lot of these communities, they're not... How do you put it? They're not... you can see through that, right? They're done in a way where you're looking to know that you're trying to hook me on the long run.
Yeah, it's like a blockchain community on some kind of to let you know about the new coin, and they just tokenize a coin and rape you.
You get it, yeah, exactly. You can smell it. Yes. Whereas when you're the PT person who's genuinely passionate about your business and you just want to share meal plans and whatever it is, that comes across more as like, I'm actually just want to share and talk about it. I just want to share it and talk about it. When you do that from a genuine perspective, I think that's when your community is going to stay. Like you said, you can get them there, but keeping them sticky is that challenge.
Yeah. I think there's a massive shift at the moment from this concept of an audience. Like I'm just speaking at people, like on Instagram, for example, to this shift of like, no, it's like a two-way communication. And internally, those people are talking amongst themselves. Yeah. It's more of a community. Like I'm not just like, here's a big group of people and like, here, watch my stuff. It's like, no, like there's actually a bit of a feedback loop here. And that's the big change. Like a big audience of 1 million doesn't really matter if you're just barking orders at them. A small community of 2,000 people can be extremely powerful because it becomes like self-policing. They start to help each other. And then you can almost be like, stand back and go like, the magic's happening. Like I don't have to just come in all the time, but like I've created this environment where there's this constant like thinking, talking, like iterating on ideas. It becomes quite magical.
So what I'm going to do is just break the fourth wall for a second here, guys, because you said sticky and you said come in all the time, and Kai over there is laughing the entire time. So I want to make sure everybody hears us and they're like, wow, a couple of professional blokes. Kai's just laughing. He's getting the innuendos and he thinks it's hilarious. So we'll keep the innuendos to a minimum. Thank you, Kai. So you had a really good question, Jack, around the pitfalls. Let's talk there.
Yeah. So like obviously you're bringing everyone in to this journey, right? You're saying chat to me 24/7 because Slack doesn't turn off. What does that look like when people start to like get a little bit annoying? Like, hey, Dan, I've got this little feature request that's going to solve my specific problem. And how can you solve that for me? And I'm actually in your DMs right now and you can see like red.
Yes. Yeah, I see a lot of, I see a sea of red.
I'm talking to you, Karen.
Well, I think I just kind of, I bucket it, right? So there's a DM that comes in for a certain request for support. I've got a way of like processing that. So I've got a way to sort of like get through a bulk of the DMs. And then the other ones would be, like around product features. So like, oh, we would love if you just did this, this, and this. So what's really cool is that, all right, cool, that's nice. It's good feedback, but we've got a way now of like taking data out of Slack and putting it into a centralized Notion so we can start to see, is that a common thread? Right? Is that a common occurrence? All right. Otherwise, if I just react to every single, build me with this button, I'm going to build 100 buttons in a month. So you got to be conscious, obviously, of like taking that feedback, but seeing if that obviously accumulates and piles up across other users. So I try to do that. And the other one is really, I get also really good insights, like incredible insights. So it's not always like, oh, I need this, Dan, I need this. I was like, hey, Dan, I'm a agency or a freelancer and I'm doing this and love what you're doing, and just want to let you know that we use it like this or we use it like this. And it's not so much it's a request, it's feedback, and that stuff is so valuable. And it just gives me clear understanding. And I engage, like, oh, cool, so you did this, like, so it took you 10 hours instead of, it took you 3 hours instead of 10, and I dig a little bit deeper on the ones who could give me more feedback. So,
and any other pitfalls? Because that sounds like a positive again. And now I'm excited.
Yeah, sure.
And now I'm I want a community.
Everyone gets one.
Everybody gets community. You got one under your chair.
That takes time. That is a pitfall.
Yes.
That does take a shit ton of time because like
time out of your day to do that.
Like if
I imagine when the sample size is too small, it's really hard to get what is a signal and what is noise, because you have a sample size of community of 30. And they're all doing, you don't have enough data to be like, okay, well, everybody wants this. It's like, well, yeah, 3 out of 30, is that what people want? Or is it just a small subsection?
Signal,
What else?
It's a time suck. I love it. So I could stay on it for a whole day, but I've got to be conscious of my time. Like I do other things, I've got to run a business. Yeah. So it can really drain because it's not scalable. And so I've got to be pick and choosing. So that's one pitfall. The other one that I guess probably one of the biggest is Slack is not built for this. So there is this feature, Slack is free at the moment. We're using the free version, but it's built for teams who are free, not communities. So what happens is that it ends up having 90 days only of your history. So they cap you of your after 3 months of conversations on channels that have useful content on it. So we're thinking of ways of how we're extracting content out anyway. So we're getting around that, but it's just that, searchability, you can't go back more than 3 months. So that's one pitfall, the free. And if you want to pay for it, it's just 140 grand for a paid version.
Is that it? USD?
Just 140,000 a year. Yeah, so
what are we doing talking? Let's just buy it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was talking to Adam and Slade. I was like, let's just buy that. That's easy. So that's definitely one of the biggest pitfalls. So the cost up there. So it's to us is like, well, if Slack, decide to pivot away from whatever they saying, oh, you can no longer use this for communities. Yeah, we've got a bit of a situation in terms of losing a lot of that community on Slack.
What do you reckon, Jack? If you think about, so like obviously Dan, a very specific use case, but making sure it's interesting to the whole audience depending on their business. Can you see any other potential pitfalls of having community-led product, whatever that type of product is?
The biggest one for me is like when sentiment turns slightly negative and you've got like 4 or 5 squeaky wheels in there, and it's kind of like the analogy of the rotten strawberry can really like poison the bunch. And if everything's out in the open, which it happens, right? These channels of like thousands of people, and you've got a couple that are derailing. Does that become an issue when you're like, no, I've actually heard what you're saying, but I said no for now. And they're like, no, Dan doesn't listen to me. And you know what I mean? You've got this like kind of a snowballing effect of positive, but then you can also have a snowballing effect of the negative. When you've got a bunch of people, you've got a couple of loud voices. How do you get around that? Is it like, does the squeaky wheel get the grease, or do you just kind of ignore them and say there's always going to be a couple of rotten eggs?
You go to settings, members, view, member, delete.
I love that. Practical step. No, that's good. That's
Everybody write that down.
That's actually good though, right? Like
there's people who could take it abusive, and that's where if it's not like kind and it's like not part of our, I guess, community policies of like, okay, give me feedback, but not be abusive. I'm going to delete them. So that's, I've got admin control. I have the final say.
The power.
Right, I have the power to just pull you out. So that is manageable, but we just listen. You just like you respond in a way without triggering. You just get their feedback. So why are you thinking like this? So why are you doing this? And again, if they give me a good reason why, but they continue to like do that, we just kick them out. So overall. And what's really cool, again, the magic part of the community, other people jump in and say, hey man, that's just chill out, like
we're a dog, stop being
let's not do this. It's not a community for this type of stuff. So we've had a few people who jump in on that's it early.
I'm going off piste here, but I'm curious, have you ever thought about doing like an in-person event or something like that or something for the community to make them like even more the next stage of raving fans?
We've got office hours. So once a week, Matt and Zara from our success team, they jump on a call and invite people from the community to ask anything about Relim. So they get that opportunity to jump on, and just ask about, oh, what's your direction here, or what do you think about this, or even like more practical, how do I export out of here and do this? So office hours has been an awesome hit, and just again, we got them in on issues and support, and then you sort of land and expand, right? Get other things, like we do team up now, where, hey, go team up with another person in the community, put your thing in the channel and say, I'm this and this, and I'm a brand designer, and I'm looking to get a website developer. So they team up with each other.
Clever.
Yeah.
It's really cool to sort of like, so you want to foster the magic, and you want to kind of encourage that, because really you're getting more people active, but it's also, most importantly, you're giving more value. So.
Sick. All right, boys. I'm frothing because I want to now build a community into the product.
Okay.
I think for everybody kind of listening, to summarize what we've talked about, clearly there's probably a lot more benefits than pitfalls.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be able to talk directly to our customer. We can get feedback from our customer, and they have the ability to self-serve through talking to one another. There's many places to get community, and from what I've heard, it's like go to where your customer is, and then finally it's the magic of being able to have, I guess, humanize you, the founder, the co-founder, and have communication directly with your audience. So guys, go out there and start a community. Simple. Yeah. Let's get started.